Greetings, fellow listener. I will be your guide as we turn back the hands of time and space and dive into the obscure. Tonight's destination, July 10th, 1966. Strap in and enjoy the ride. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jacob K. Baker for Atomic Stick Figure Productions. And on tonight's episode of ObscuReview, we will be discussing Ultraman Episode 0, The Birth of Ultraman. A week before Ultraman aired on television, there was this stage show that was televised. I don't know if it was, I'm sure it was filmed prior to its airing, but it sort of set the grounds for what was to come. That's really all the backstory I can give you on this thing at the moment, so let's go into the review. So first off, we have shot of the television channel, and then we get the Ultraman title card. The next shots that we get are of the audience and the hostess, I assume is what she is, and she's talking about, well, honestly I don't know what she's talking about, because the entire program is in Japanese and it was never dubbed or subtitled. So as far as what's going on, I couldn't tell you what the audio actually is, or the dialogue. But our hostess is showing off like Ultraman badges and what I assume is a cigarette pack. It's marked as A25. I assume that's what is hosting the program, which is sort of cool because, you know, back in the day, cigarette brands did host television. So, you know, it was sort of a neat little flashback to the time. After she gets done with her little dialogue, the show begins, and the curtain rises on the stage, revealing a scientist at a sort of like just a scientific equipment. It looks really cool in black and white, and it's just him at this control panel, and there's like these spinning lights on top of it. Very cool. After he notices the audience, the scientist starts talking to everyone in attendance. A little bit into his dialogue, you can hear these monsters roar. Apparently there's monsters hidden off stage somewhere, and he has to quiet them down. After he quiets down the monsters, he starts going back into his monologue, and then Kanigan walks up behind him and starts waving at the audience. Eventually, the scientist does notice Kanigan's appearance, and then he just shoos the monster back, and it walks off stage. After a little bit more dialogue, then these other scientists show up, and they start singing the Ultraman song, the opening's theme to Ultraman. After a brief little conversation, these scientists who were singing the song, they walk off, and then the scientist decides that he needs to leave too. Shortly after their departure, these three people, I assume they're supposed to be thieves because they're wearing the head garments that the thieves are typically depicted as having in like anime. And then the thieves, they start discussing what they're going to do, and then they start interviewing children in the audience. You know, while they're talking to one of the kids, I think it's the second kid they're talking to. Directly in front of him is this other audience member who looks suspiciously like Old Man Subaraya. We'll get back to that guy in a little bit. After they get done talking to the audience, the thieves go to the lab, and they start messing around with the equipment. Apparently, what's going on is they're on the search for a monster of their own. Like I said, I don't speak Japanese. I'm not entirely sure it's what's happening, but the events actually lead me to that conclusion. One of the thieves, he runs around behind one of the set pieces, and you can hear what could be a monster's roar, only to later reappear holding a pig, much to the audience's amusement. They decide that this creature is not a monster, so the thief takes it back, and as soon as the thief returns, then all three of them start calling out for monsters. At this point, kaiju start appearing. The monsters in question is Kanigan, Garamon, and M1 from Ultra Q. After the monsters show up, they corner the thieves, and then the scientists enter. After the scientist reappears, the singing group, dressed as scientists, they appear as well. And then Ultra monsters appear. They break through the wall and then start coming off of the sides of the set. And these monsters are from the show Ultraman. We get Chandora, Red King, Bolton, and Antler. The Ultra Q monsters start battling the Ultraman monsters. And while the fray is going on, the scientists hide, and they come up with this plan to get help. And this plan entails the group singing the Science Patrol theme, which, after watching the show, I never realized that the Science Patrol actually had a song. I thought it was just an instrumental track. Turns out, there's actually lyrics to it. After they get done with their song, the Science Patrol actually appears from behind the audience, along with Hoshino. And then they run up on stage and start battling with the kaiju. After that, Ultraman finally makes his appearance. He fights some of the monsters and then lures some of them away. After they get off stage, the curtain comes down in front of the stage, and it shows footage from the television series where Ultraman is fighting the monster Naronga from episode 3. After this little sequence is done, then the scientist starts talking to the Science Patrol, who then start addressing the audience and telling the audience who they are. The scientist then leaves, and the Science Patrol starts to leave as well, but then the thieves reappear, and they start talking to them. During this conversation, the scientist shows up and releases all the monsters, who start attacking him. As the monsters are attacking the scientist, they wind up destroying one of the set pieces and the device that actually contained the monsters, and then the scientists run off. And it's at this point where the Science Patrol addresses one of the audience members, and it turns out to be Old Man Tsuburaya. My suspicions were confirmed. The Tsuburaya then walks up on stage and starts talking with the crew, and it's at this point where everyone is handed out these little pieces of paper that have the Ultraman theme song written on it, and then everyone, including the monsters, start singing the Ultraman theme. During their singing the Ultraman theme, the credits start to roll, and we get like these little shots of the audience reacting to, everything that they're seeing. And then after they get done singing, the thieves address the audience, and then everyone waves farewell. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Ultraman Episode 0, The Birth of Ultraman. Okay, so my thoughts on this little program, it was really neat to watch, and especially when you start taking into consideration what the significance of this program was. Now, like I said, this aired a week before Ultraman itself aired, and it introduced the audience members to a lot of the staples from the show. For instance, the singer singing the Ultraman theme song. This is the first time the audience had ever heard Ultraman's theme. Now, I'm not sure what kind of previews were shown on television, but I'm willing to bet this is also the first time that the audience also saw a lot of the monsters that were on the stage. Along with that, it was also the first appearance of Ultraman. This is some, when you think about it in the right context, this is some pretty heavy stuff. Like I said, this is the first time anyone had ever seen or heard any of this stuff. And it, watching it gave me this sense of nostalgia, even though I wasn't around back then, but it made me very nostalgic for the fact that this was prior to the show's release. And, every time something would happen, every time they would sing a song or, introduce like the Science Patrol members, the smile on my face just kept getting bigger and bigger. This was like the ultimate fan's dream. And another one of the interesting aspects about this program is that it's the first time, or the first time for me anyway, that I ever got to see Eiji Tsuburaya himself on screen. For me, it was just amazing seeing actual footage of Eiji Tsuburaya. I don't know if any of the footage exists. I mean, I've only seen photos. But here we actually get to see the man on film talking. And to me, this was just mind-blowing. This is history, ladies and gentlemen. Now, while I'm sure this really doesn't appeal to a majority of the masses, to me, this is what I'm really into. I like seeing the behind-the-scenes stuff. And I like seeing the stuff that actually leads up to the final production. And this, to me, was just heaven. I don't really know what else to say about this program. So I guess I'll just go on to my final rating. I mean, I can't really critique anything on the show. I suppose that I could, but there's not really any reason to really nitpick at anything. I mean, this was a stage show, so there wasn't the big elaborate sets, and the set that we did have, it was just something for a stage show. And I'm a huge fan of the stage shows. I mean, I have several of them on DVD, and I love watching these things. There's just something about the stage shows that are just so appealing. And this being not only the first appearance of Ultraman, it was also the first Ultraman stage show. So yeah, I was just eating this thing up. I mean, this thing is just awesome. So because of everything that I saw, I have to give this thing a pretty high rating because this is everything that I love seeing. And, like I said, you got Eiji Tsuburaya, you've got the first time the song's ever sung, the first appearance of Ultraman on television. It's just incredibly awesome stuff to witness. My rating for this particular film, if you want to call it that, I'll call it an episode. My rating for this episode is a solid 5. And I mean, it's really kind of hard to rate something like this, but I mean, this was just awesome. So, could I suggest anyone out there watching it? Well, if you are a diehard Ultraman fan like I am, then yes, definitely watch this. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, it's never been dubbed or subtitled, so a lot is going to be lost on anyone who does not know Japanese. But still, just the visuals and the like I said, the songs. I mean, it's just so awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for my review for Ultraman Episode 0, The Birth of Ultraman. Join me next time when I will be talking about the 1971 feature film Monstroid. Well, that's it for my review. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Jacob K. Baker for Atomic Stick Figure Productions. May you guys have a pleasant evening, and may God bless.